Welcome everyone to the Black Girl Digital Academy. My name is Latoya Shambo, but you can call me Shambo. It is a pleasure to have you all here. I've led campaigns for brands like Disney, Subaru, Viacom. I've worked in the industry for over 20 years. I've had my agency for 10 years. I've brought brand deals to thousands of creators, and my mission is simple: to make this creator economy more inclusive, more informative, and profitable. Right. So I built this ecosystem because I really feel like we all deserve access to the information, to the resources, and the tools. And I am extremely thrilled to welcome someone who's truly understood the inner works of brand deals, not just from the creator side, but from the boardroom side. Christina Westley is a powerhouse in the influencer marketing space. And as the former head of influencer marketing at PepsiCo and a graduate of the Wharton School, Christina brings both sharp business lens and a deep passion for equity in the creator economy. She's worked across agencies, startups, and global corporations, and what sets her apart in this is her advocacy. So let me stop sharing my screen and bring up Miss Christina. Okay. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there she go. There she go. There she go.
Thank you so much for the nice intro. I appreciate it. And it's also exciting to see this come together. Obviously was super excited, like I told you when you first reached out, but already even in the beginning part of this, I'm like, this is such valuable information in the format that you're doing it. Just kudos to you. So yeah,
Thank you. No, I appreciate the time. And it was so last minute. So I was like,
you'd never be able to tell though, like all of this takes a lot of work, and the way you're packaging up this information, like it is, I think, like the most comprehensive kind of overview I've seen of things. So
good. Thank you. Well, I appreciate it. Let's jump in. Tell the good folks about you and what it is, top line, that you were doing while you were at Pepsi.
yeah, and I'll keep it brief so we can kind of hit the questions. But basically, from my side, really got into influencer marketing, I would say pretty organically. First moved to New York, originally from Ohio, actually, and then made my way to Philly, and then came to New York working in the startup space where I had work that I was doing that was talent adjacent. At the time, it wasn't called quote unquote influencer marketing, but in doing that work, as more jobs were coming up that had influencer marketing in the title, it allowed me to be able to segue into that pretty seamlessly. And then from there was agency side, both at VaynerMedia and Star Power, and in just working with a bunch of brands, a lot of portfolio brands as well. I was able to get the opportunity at PepsiCo, which essentially, and a surprise to a lot of people, was to build up their influencer team. So a lot of people think about like a Pepsi already working with a lot of influencers, but there's definitely nuance in celebrity versus social media influencers. And so my role was creating the in-house team that would really work with social media influencers.
Got it. Very cool. So now let's get to it. I guess, again, every company is very different in how they view or how they approve and review creator media, creator marketing. But by the way, how did you guys think about it or categorize it in that regard? Did you look at it like creator media, creator marketing? What was the terminology?
Yeah, it definitely has a lot of great lines. So the clearest division that we would have would be like celebrity versus social native influencers. So thinking about the creators as people that their equity really was born from social versus, yeah, you're anyone else that, is from more so traditional media. The double click on the creator side of things is where it would get a little gray. We did have, and like they still do have, the structure of sports team, music team, and then yeah, the social kind of influencer team. And sometimes you have creators that overlap in all worlds. So I would say probably just the clearest division is social and celebrity, and then the rest is kind of like just depends on what day you catch people.
Got it. So now when it comes to sourcing and vetting, were you guys doing that in-house or were you working with agencies? Like what was that ecosystem like internally?
Yeah, so very candidly, that part is was a lot of outsourcing. And I would say that also is the part that I would find personally the most frustrating in the sense that it's so subjective. And again, because you are working with external entities, like we, before a list would maybe even get to us, it's already other people that have control of the names that are on there. And obviously, we can add on names that we want to as well. But we would then have actually our PR team. So you have the influencer agency involved, and then the PR team would be responsible for vetting the creators.
I wonder why it would sit on the PR team.
Yeah, instead of the influencer agency.
Yeah.
I think for us, it was more so a scoping and logistics thing. The PR agency had been used and had a larger scope
Mhm.
than what the influencer agencies had. They had been working for more years. And so I think vetting is one of those things where it's a bit of a touchy subject, especially when you're doing it for a large company. It feels like a lot is at risk. So I
Mhm.
think it's a level of trust as well in the PR agency doing it just because it feels like, well, they've known the brands longer. But at the end of the day, the process is still very manual for vetting. There really isn't a trusted tool that I would say yet that is just going through and vetting people. Obviously, there are metrics and stuff being looked at, but from a quote unquote brand safety perspective, right now, brand safety is just meaning whoever you end up getting assigned to that has come across your profile, they're going through and they're scrolling and seeing if there are any flags. So automatically, it depends on their own personal lived experience as far as what they see. I mean, I remember times where the PR agency would flag memes that were just a part of Black Twitter culture. And it's like, if it's someone that doesn't know that, the way that people would take these flags would be totally different.
Interesting. So a lot of people would just fall under not safe.
Yeah, it's a lot. It was a green, yellow, red system, a lot of yellows. And then it would get escalated for other people to review. And so my team then would go through and review a lot of stuff. So there were a ton of yellows that we make back green. And then, yeah, it also just depends on the brand's just risk tolerance as well. So
Mhm.
that's also another thing. Like big companies, a lot of the big companies that everyone wants to work with are the most risk adverse. If you really want to think about moving fast, if you're trying to get a quick check, if you're also trying to have probably the most freedom, that is the benefit of startups.
Yeah. One of our campaigns it took a year. You hear me?
Yeah.
A whole year.
I can believe it. I mean, we've had times there are vendors that I've talked with on agency side where I've known them a year, 2 years, and like literally one of our partners, we it took a year and a half before we started a project with them. Influencers as well. Like there's so much also that happens behind the scenes as far as being a fit for a campaign. It's not just like you could be a great creator. I could love your page. That happened so many times. Like people I have saved that I would love to work with, but the way things are set up in the back, they just don't fit in at the moment to what we have planned.
Happens all the time. And I tell creators all the time, like, don't take it personal, you know.
Yeah, at all. It's sales is just a big part of it. I mean, you had the even in the poll that you did, I thought it was interesting because access is 100% a challenge,
Mhm.
but also that pitch process is like difficult as well. And I think not because people don't know how to speak to the work that they do, but more so that the pitch process is so based on the timing that you catch the
Yes.
company and the brand in, and you don't
Yes.
have control of that.
Yes. Man, and that is a whole another webinar for a whole nother day because the basis of what I do is sales, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's always like, did I catch them at the right time? It's not, that's why it's never a no forever. It's literally not right now because
Yeah.
there's nothing right now, or they're
Yeah.
not in planning season right now. So I feel that sentiment 100%. Okay, so let's get to something that the creators might want to know. Common mistakes that might block a deal from happening on the brand side.
Yeah, and this is assuming they're already on the brand's radar, right? And it's just not crossing the finish line. One very simple thing that actually happens enough times to mention and be top of mind is people switching their page from public to private. And it has happened in the middle of the casting process. And I get like personal life, I guess you try not to have anybody like a specific person on your page, but if you know you are pitching yourself, leave the page alone and keep it public because we're not doing a deal with anyone that has a private page. So that's the one where it's just like always sad when someone was like so close and then they made it private. I would also say being too, I guess, kind of like saturated with your brand deals and sponsorships.
Interesting.
And
Hmm.
so again, and I think some of this too is given the fact that I know our cycle from discovery to launch is pretty long. So these are things sometimes that pop up in that time where we might be working on a project and then yeah, then we realize you have another deal that it just doesn't really make sense. Maybe it is direct competitor, or if it's not, it just feels like, oh, well, I don't know how loyal to our brand you would be. So that comes up too. And then I would actually, I think it's just worth noting on more of the monetary negotiation side of things. I get the sense that creators are actually really worried about that side because they're like, oh, if I don't have the right rate, will they kind of disappear on me? And I mean, like, I'm sure you have bad apples in the mix all the time, but honestly, if you have gotten to the stage where you have already been reviewed, someone has found you, your profile has been put together in some sort, quoting the wrong thing, like as long as your email didn't have a crazy tone or something, that's usually not going to be a reason to just be skipped over. If anything, we have incentive to negotiate with you because that's more work on us if we have to go find new people. So if I'm excited that you're a brand fit, but the price is just off, I'm going to try to figure out how I can get it to where it needs to be.
Yeah, no, very good point. Very good point. And I think that a lot of creators do get a little nervous, especially when they're just getting their feet wet. They don't want to ruin the relationship.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's a really great call out. And the one last thing before I let you go, because I do want to be respectful of your time and I do want to be respectful of everyone else's time. Let's talk about metrics. What metrics are important when you were looking for creators and when you're working as a freelancer contractor with brands and helping them? What are those key metrics that you're looking for?
Yeah. So I would say followership is usually just the initial filter to figure out like the first pool of people. And that's based off of just like what the strategy was. But from there, and more important, would be things like engagement rate. Also, too, we look at demographics as far as geo goes. Yeah, sometimes if it matters to the brand, male female split. Yeah, even ethnicity breakdown. So all of those demographics to make sure that they map to the strategy. And then the other thing too is even looking at authenticity metrics as well. So that's why it's
What
always
does that
stressed
look like?
by followers because some of these tools, they do give you a percent on how many of the followers are real followers. So we will create thresholds for that that give us signals if you have gotten a lot of your followers from bots or buying.
Very interesting. I appreciate you for sharing. This was
Right.
insightful, especially just understanding and sharing that the way that you guys may do it is definitely not the way of the entire ecosystem. Knowing and understanding how it's being done one way or the other, it still can kind of set the foundation, understanding alignment, brand safety, negotiate.
Yeah, for real.
And know your metrics. What's one thing you would want, piece of advice you would want to leave the audience with today?
I think biggest thing I stressed that I love that you had the slide for was understanding the ecosystem. Honestly, all of this advice I think is really hard to maximize if you don't have an understanding of all of the key players in the roles. And I also think getting an understanding of that will help you be able to look out for who can help support your career and your goals. I think you'll go with a new lens when you go to events. It's not just
Mhm.
about being able to hit the highest person at a brand because you'll have an understanding of how the person at the agency you've never heard of is actually going to be able to bring you more deals. Yeah, I love that slide. I think walking away just screenshotting that slide, studying that slide, like that's the highlight I would have.
So, well, thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time and your insight. This was super helpful for me. I hope that everyone in the audience found some value there. Let me see if there's a question for you. Okay, no. If there are questions, I'll email it. I'll email you and then I'll just have
Yeah.
you respond and I'll send it to everyone.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you. All right, y'all, let's move on. Let's see. Let's get my screen back up. Drop some emojis in the chat if Christina was the bomb.com because cheers to that information. Listen, it's very seldom that you'll hear it direct from the mouth of someone who was in the room. Like in the room to one of the largest brands. So cheers and thank you for sharing your time. So let's power through these last couple of slides here. Friendly reminder, behind every deal is data alignment and strategy. Okay. Negotiate, negotiate, negotiate. And that, listen, I can talk all day about negotiating because that's what I do